Woohoo! It's Wednesday. Lifestyle is health. How are we doing? The sun is still shining. It just lifts your mood, doesn't it, when it's nice and bright and sunny at this time in the morning and even earlier. How are you doing today? I wanted to share with you some stuff about food because it's that time of year, isn't it, when obviously it's hot, we're not wearing as many clothing, and so our brain goes to our weight, what we look like in shorts, in sleeveless tops, and all of that kind of good stuff. And obviously when we're hot and we're sweating more, it makes us more aware of just how we feel in our body, and often that means that we then tell ourselves that we need to make some changes and we need to think about potentially going on a diet. Now, I am not anti-dieting, folks. What I am anti is dieting for my clients who have disordered eating issues, because it just exacerbates a problem. But if you're somebody who has a pretty much normal relationship with food and knows that you've just been overdoing it a little bit, maybe a few too many ice creams in the heat and perhaps a few too many portions of strawberries and double cream, and you can just cut back, then it's not an issue. And if that's not an issue for you, it makes sense just to be aware and to cut back on what you're doing. But what I wanted to do was just cover some of the still, and I kind of sigh when I say that, because the myths around nutrition and food are still being exacerbated all of the time on social media, and it's just based on incorrect science. And I'm smiling because if I didn't, I'd be so frustrated, I'd be screaming. But it's just laughable that we still got so much misinformation, and we're still perpetuating beliefs that if we all have to do is just look around us. If the food stuff that we are being taught and told was correct by the majority of stuff that's out there on the internet, then everybody would be slim. Everybody will be happy and healthy in their body, right? We look around, we're getting fatter, we're getting sicker. And that's just a fact. So it kind of makes sense that perhaps what you've been told is not necessarily the truth. And what I wanted to dismiss is, and because it still perpetuates so much, is this idea that fat makes you fat, right? And so I know that I will have talked about this before, and if you've heard me say this before, then, if you want to disappear, go do something else, then absolutely fine. But sometimes it doesn't hurt to be reminded that it's the right type of fats that your body needs. Every single cell in your body is made up of a lipid. Lipid is another name for fat. Is made up of a lipid phospholipid. In other words, every cell in your body is made up of fat, right? So if you don't have fat in your diet, you're going to have problems making new cells. And our body needs to make new cells all of the time. If you do not have enough of the right fat in your diet, it's going to affect how the electricity, the current that helps our nervous system to function actually works. So the messages that go through from one nerve to the other are not going to function properly, right? So it's so important that we get in enough of the right kinds of fats. And there's this confusion over what are the right kinds of fats. So let me try and simplify things, because that's how I work, folks. Fats that are the right kinds of fats for a human body are fats that occur naturally in foods in their whole form. So think about foods that you think of as foods that contain fat. So obvious things like red meat, where you can actually see the marbling and the fat in the meat, right? So that's a natural source of fat that your body can utilize. Things like olives and avocados, they have natural fats in there that your body can use. Olives are whole, avocados are whole, right? We're not doing anything with them. Is the oil made from olives and avocados good? Excellent. Yes, it is, because those are naturally oily foods. Things like fatty fish, things like mackerel, things like salmon, things like sardines, that kind of thing, are all fats that your body can utilize. The fat in eggs, the fat underneath the skin, and the skin itself on poultry. Yeah, all of those are naturally occurring fats. The fat in coconut, the actual coconut meat itself on the fruit, right? Natural fats that your body can utilize. We've also got butter that we do make, but it is from a whole food. It is from milk. And if you don't have an issue with dairy at all, then you're going to be fine with butter. You're going to be fine with ghee. And even if you do have a mild lactose reaction, then you're probably going to be fine with ghee and butter, because it's not the same as your body trying to break down milk, which has just got lactose in its raw form. And it's all about the DNA of the actual lactose itself. So it's altered when you take it in the form of butter, when you take it in the form of ghee. So all of those natural fats, good fats. Hi, who's watching? Let me know who you are. And the ones that are not so good are the ones that are manufactured by us human beings. Okay, because those are absolutely processed to heck, and unfortunately they are changed so much from a DNA point of view, from the actual molecular structure of those fats, that your body doesn't utilize them as it should. It can't actually use what they are trying to give you. And so when your body can't use something, it sees it as being a pathogen, a foreigner. Okay, and it creates inflammation to protect your body from any harm that thing might do. And so that includes things like vegetable oils, sunflower seed oils, includes things like margarine and spreads that have been created from like butter and oil together, because they have been processed and the structure has been changed in a way that your body is not great at utilizing. So sticking to natural fats is where you want to go. Now, the thing about eating fats, and this is why fats are really, really good, is because fats give you satisfaction. They give foods that nice kind of mouth feel. They help us to feel satisfied when we have eaten them, rather than feeling like, oh, do you know what, I could eat another one, or I'm not quite there. I might be full, but I'm not satisfied. And this is what a lot of people find. So let's just please dispel the myth that low fat is good. Right? Unless you have a problem with your gallbladder, a problem with your liver or pancreas that you know about, and you have been specifically told to be mindful of the fats that you are taking on board. And even then, make sure it's from a nutritional therapist and not from a doctor or from a dietitian, because it's completely different. A nutritional therapist understands what they're talking about, as does a functional nutritionist. When it comes to dietitians, they base their info on what they've been taught, which, as you now know, if you've listened to me, is at least 15 years out of date. And a lot of them were trained way before then. So the information that they're spouting you may well be, 20 to 30 years out of date. So just be mindful of what the qualification is of a dietitian and what their understanding is of cellular function and of the whole digestive process, including how your gallbladder and liver and pancreas work together with your stress response and insulin. And if you can't answer those questions, then seek another opinion. So what I want to also touch on is that, low-fat foods are not necessarily low-calorie. And I think this is the myth that a lot of people have, because in their heads, if they're following a healthier eating plan and they're going lower fat, you think it's going to be lower in calories. Some of them are, but a lot of them are not. And what they do is they just replace the fat with sugar, or even worse, with sweetener. And that just sets up a whole inflammatory response in your body, which just makes you losing fat way much harder than it needs to be. So if you are kind of counting calories and on a low calorie kind of plan, and you're looking at, diet this and low fat that, it's probably those things that are actually making it more of a struggle than it needs to be. When you have foods that have natural fats in them, you by default will be satisfied on less. And I'm sure you've all done this. If you've eaten something like a low fat yogurt or a low fat biscuit, your brain kind of goes to, well, it doesn't taste quite the same. It's similar, but it's not quite the same. But then you've got this idea that maybe you can have more because it's lower fat. So you end up eating actually more, and from a calorie point of view, more still. And that's going to bring me on to calories, folks, because when your body is metabolizing and utilizing and breaking down stuff, it doesn't always break down things fully, and it doesn't necessarily use all of the calories that you are giving it because it can't get to them all. And this whole calories in, calories out thing is a myth. And what I want you to think about is more sensibly is how your body functions, and think of it this way. If you are doing more, physically more active, then your body is going to need more calories. Calories just switch the term for energy. Right? When I'm talking to my clients about what calories are, think about a light bulb, right? That's energy. The energy gives you light, okay? And that's all calories are, is a measurement of energy. That's it. And what you need to know is that the more active you are, then the more energy your body is going to require. But it's also going to require that energy in a form of nutrition or nutrients that it can actually utilize. It doesn't just want energy that has no nutritional value, because that's not going to make you function well. What it will do is help you to not burn fat as a fuel. Right? You might just well be burning carbs, but you won't necessarily be using your fat. And if that's your intention as a fuel, then you need to think about just how active am I? Because here's the thing that I notice with a lot of people, they tell me how busy they are, but they're not active. And there's a big, big difference. So if you are physically moving around and you're more active, then it makes sense that you'll need more energy on those days. And on the days when you're spending a lot of time on the computer or just sitting around, you know, if you're traveling in the car or if you're commuting and you're spending a lot of time on a tube and then sitting behind a desk, you're not active. You might be really busy, but you're not active. So you don't need as much energy. Okay, so what fat does is helps you to feel satisfied on a smaller amount of food, because you're getting the flavor and you're getting the texture and you're getting the satisfaction value. So you don't need to eat a lot. Right. And this is the other thing that I wanted to touch on today is portion sizes, folks. And a lot of people are now going out to eat, and that's brilliant because, God, we need that, don't we? I'm sure you're all fed up of cooking 3 meals a day or more if you've got people who all want different meals at different times. And it's just so nice, especially now, isn't it, to be able to sit outside and that whole going out experience of having, you know, a nice menu to choose from. And it's interesting when I talk to people how we all look at the experience of going out differently. And there's no right or wrong on this at all. Some of us will go out because we just want to break from cooking and we want to have foods that we're familiar and comfortable with, and that's it. And some of us will go out and make it our intention to try foods that we would never dream of cooking at home because either we don't know how or it takes too long and we just can't be bothered. And I'm definitely in the role of the latter one. So when I go out to a restaurant, I'm going to look down the menu and I'm going to look for something that I'm not that familiar with that I definitely wouldn't cook at home because maybe it makes the house smell or I just don't have all the ingredients. Now, the whole point of going out is not for you to stuff your face and to fill yourself up so full that you can't move. That is not what it's meant to be about. It's still a meal like any other meal. Yes, it's a treat because you're in a different environment and somebody else is cooking it for you. But it's not an excuse to overeat because you don't go there very often. Your brain might tell you that, but your body definitely does not want you to do that. What you want to try and do is actually enjoy the flavors and the tastes of the food that you are eating. So eat slowly. Put your knife and fork down in between mouthfuls and wait till you've swallowed until you pick your knife and fork back up again, right? But enjoy the conversation, enjoy the environment, enjoy who you're with. Notice the flavors, notice the taste. See if you can actually taste the different ingredients that you know are in that sauce or whatever it is that you're picking, and don't just go down the road of, oh, I'm going to have that because it's healthy. If you're not enjoying it, what's the point of going out if you're not going to enjoy it? So try and enjoy foods. And what I want to say on that is value for money does not mean a lot of food. right? When you're eating out in a restaurant, and this is another myth that I want to dispel. For those of you who don't know, I was in the restaurant business for a very long time with my second husband, and actually I was involved in restaurants way back because my dad is in catering, and so restaurants and eating out was always part of my whole life. And I understand how restaurants function and how they work from a business point of view, and restaurants are a business, right? And what you need to know is that you are not just paying for the food in a restaurant. So if you're looking at the menu and going, oh, that's expensive for, I don't know, a chicken dish, it's not the chicken that you are paying for. It is all of the preparation of everything else that goes with the chicken. It is the staff that are going to be serving you at the table and clearing up after you. It is the upkeep of the premises that you are in and the equipment that they are using to cook. You are not just paying for the chicken. It's the experience of being served and having the food cooked for you, and all of that entails. So when you look at it in that way, right, eating out is very good value for money. If you had to price every meal that you made and include the time it takes to buy it, the time it takes to prepare it, the time it takes to, and the electricity and the gas that it takes for every piece of equipment that you use to be factored in, yeah, all of a sudden you'd be like, oh my God, actually that's really good value. Value is not about how much food is on your plate. Value is how much am I enjoying what I'm eating. And the other thing to know about restaurants is portion sizes, folks, right? They do a portion size by costings, so that particular meal has a particular number of ingredients and number of components to it that are costed out, right? And that dictates the portion. What the person who is dictating that portion is not even thinking about is who is going to eat it. So you are going to have the same size portion served to you because it's about cost, whether you're a 6'4", 20-stone bloke, or whether you are a 7-stone, 5-foot female. You will get the same portion. Okay? Does that mean that you're meant to eat the portion? No. What you're meant to do is enjoy what your body requires to satisfy itself. Now, for those of you who are going, yeah, but I've gone out and I've paid for it. Okay, right, but you've paid for every meal that you cook at home. And if you really feel that you don't want to leave anything, then ask for a doggy bag, right? We're pretty crap in this country about asking for doggy bags. I have no idea why. But if you feel that you have paid for that and you want to take what you've not eaten home with you so that you can have it for your lunch the next day, or somebody else in the family might want to enjoy it because they didn't get to go with you, do that. So homing in on the idea that just because you are served a specific portion does not mean you are meant to eat it. And for those of you who have been brainwashed to eat everything that's on your plate, please remind yourself of that. Right? That plate was not designed for you as a specific person. It was just designed on cost. That's it. Right? So that does not mean that is the right portion for you. And on that note, on portion size, folks, if you are consistently, and if you've got kids or grandkids, please be aware of this. If you're consistently saying to them, you've got to eat everything on your plate, and it seems like they're leaving a lot of food, please rethink how much food you are actually putting on that plate. Because if you include all of those food groups, your proteins, your fiber, and your good fats, then you don't need a massive amount to satisfy you. If you eat slowly, if it takes you a good 20 minutes to eat your meal, you will suddenly discover that you don't need a massive amount at all for you to feel satisfied. And so that's what I want you to really take on board. And the last thing that I want to finish off on was talking about FODMAP foods. So you might have seen that in the title for this and thought, well, hell of FODMAP foods. So when people talk to me about that they eat healthy and yet they're still struggling, I often look at, are they taking on board a lot of FODMAP foods? So what the heck are they? Well, FODMAP is an acronym, right? And it's an acronym for fermentable oligo, monosaccharides, and polyols. Yeah, I know, that's a mouthful, isn't it? And that's why we say FODMAP, because it is such a mouthful. But basically, these are poorly absorbed in the intestines by a number of people, right? And there's certain ones that we just don't have the enzymes for Some of us do, a lot of us don't. And this is why we might have problems with them. And so I'm going to give you a list of some of those FODMAP foods. And if you're going, oh my God, I'm eating a lot of those, and yeah, I'm getting bloating and I'm getting gas, and I'm looking at what I'm eating and I'm going, well, I'm eating healthily. So this might be the reason why. Now, what I don't want everybody to do is go, oh my God, I'm going to go on a low FODMAP diet. Here's the thing. If you Google low FODMAP foods or high FODMAP foods, you're going to get lists, right? And what I need you to know about those kinds of lists is just because it's a low FODMAP does not mean it's okay for your body. Just because it's a high FODMAP does not mean it's not good for your body, right? You can, some of us can eat high FODMAP foods that are on that list and be fine, and others of us can't. And the same for the low FODMAP. So this is where people get confused, because they think that a high list is like set in stone. This is going to work for me. I can eat none of the high foods and I can eat all of the low foods. No, that is not how it works. But I'm going to give you just a clue as to what some of the high FODMAP foods that potentially might be causing you problems, that might be stopping you from perhaps dropping weight, that might be creating gas or bloating or reflux or any kind of like feeling of inflammation in your tummy, or just gastric distress. So things like apples, mangoes, pears, cherries, figs, blackberries. Now, there's a lot of those around at the moment, yeah? So think about, are you eating a lot of those kinds of fruits? Because they might be causing you problems. Your disaccharides tend to be cheese type of things. So mozzarella, cottage cheese, cream cheese, ice cream, milk, yogurt, all from cows. Can cause problems in a lot of people. Lactose obviously is being the key common denominator there. But then you've got things like your oligosaccharides. So these are things like cauliflower and broccoli, Brussels sprouts, artichokes, asparagus, beetroots, onion, garlic, cashew nuts, pistachios, wheat, barley, and rye. Now, a lot of us have issues with those, and just cutting down significantly on those can make a big difference. And then the other ones that you have got that you might just be having issues with, and again, a lot of my clients are going, yeah, but I'm eating healthy, I'm eating lots of avocado. Well, avocado is a polyol. So you may have issues with avocado or cherries, bell peppers, sweet corn, and also those sweeteners. You know, I was talking about high fat foods. So maltitol, xylitol, mannitol, and sorbitol are all sweeteners that can create problems for those of us who have issues with FODMAP foods. So please be aware that just because you're telling me that you eat healthily, that does not mean that your body is not having a problem with some of the foods that you are eating. So please, get detective, right? Just because it's healthy does not mean that it's healthy for your body. And if anybody wants to have a conversation with me about nutrition, about what is happening with their gut, with their diet, then please do book on for a 15-minute chat with me, and let's just see what's going on for you, where you're at, and see if I can help you. Because I'm so fed up of people telling me how healthy that they're eating, and then when they list off the foods that they're having, I'm going, yeah, well, that's kind of why you've got a problem. And then they want to know and understand, well, why that is. So I hope that that's kind of helped a little bit. I will be putting some handout type information, if I can, in this group. I'm not sure if you can put files in groups anymore. I need to check that out. But I'm looking to be doing a masterclass on why your healthy eating diet might not be so healthy for you very, very soon. So if you are interested in joining that, please do put a comment below, and I can send you some information about when it's going to be and all that good stuff. So on that note, have a woohoo rest of your Wednesday and a wonderful week, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.